Hi everyone, my name is Fernanda and I feel very honored to be a part of this project alongside my dance colleagues Ellie and Jacinda. I want to start by thanking you for engaging with this work. This work is shared openly as a community resource and we are very grateful for your involvement. Together, Jacinda, Ellie, and I recently launched a global survey exploring the mental health experiences of people engaged in the HREC. Students, teachers, performers, artists, and community members across many different countries and stages of their journey. The survey was open internationally, and we received responses from all over the world. That alone has been incredibly moving to witness how far this art form travels and how deeply it shapes people's inner lives. We gathered both qualitative and quantitative data, which means we not only looked at patterns and trends, but we also listened really carefully to people's personal and lived experiences in their own words. The responses came from a really wide range of voices. Beginners, seasoned professionals, people who dance as a hobby, working performers, teachers navigating leadership, and individuals who hold multiple roles within our dance ecosystem. What emerged is complex, interesting, layered, and really human. Before we go further, we want to clarify and we want to acknowledge that Ratshari is a cultural art form and it's rooted in histories, communities, and socio-political realities. It cannot and it should not be separated from its cultural context and lineage. Our intention is not to extract from this art form, not to frame it as a mental health practice. We are not attempting to redefine it through a therapeutic lens. Rather, we are examining what can arise psychologically when people enter into relationship with this dance, with care, with humility, and with deep respect for its origins. We also want to name something with honesty and transparency. While this was a global survey, the responses we received are still largely Western leaning, and source dancer perspectives are not represented to the extent that we would have hoped. This is definitely an area for improvement, and we want to acknowledge that openly. We made genuine attempts to reach and include source dancers, and we are still in the process of receiving some contributions. And at the same time, this has highlighted really important gaps around access, language, trust, and even topics like mental health, right? How these topics are understood and engaged with across different cultural contexts. What this shows us is that future work needs to be more accessible, more culturally responsive, and ideally led or co-led by source dancers themselves. It also reminds us that experiences within this dance are not universal. They can differ significantly depending on region, cultural background, and whether someone engages with this dance professionally or as a hobby. So we want to be very clear. This project is not comprehensive and it's not definitive. It is just a starting point. We are not here to give you answers. We're not here to tell you what to do, and we are not here to diagnose, prescribe, or design solutions, right? This project does not aim to fix the dance world as much as we might wish that it was possible. So instead, we're just here to open a conversation, to offer reflection, And I think to bring language to experiences that many people are already having, but they may not have had the space to articulate, if that makes sense. Because sometimes what shifts a community is not a solution, it's recognition. It's the moment someone realizes, oh, it's not only me, right? So dance does not happen in isolation, especially HREC. It happens in bodies, in communities, in hierarchies, friendships, in classrooms, in performance spaces. And whatever this there is relationship, there is potential for both resilience and rupture, for empowerment and insecurity, for connection and comparison. So we are here to share these research findings and reflections openly. And we also invite you to write in the comments, share your thoughts, and help guide the future direction of this work, right? So in today's presentation, Ellie will explore themes of community, belonging, and resilience that emerged in the data. Jacinda will speak to the body image experiences reported by so many participants, both the healing and the challenges. And I will be sharing what surfaced specifically for performers and teachers, those who work within this industry and navigate visibility, leadership, and professional pressure, right? So our hope is that this presentation contributes to a more conscious, reflective, and psychologically informed culture within our dance spaces, one that can hold both the beauty and the complexity of this art form. Thank you for being here.
Hi everyone, my name's Ellie. I'm a teacher, dancer and researcher based here in Australia. Following on from what Fernanda has shared with us, I wanted to jump in and give you a bit of context to this work. We wanted to be really open about this because we wanted to be able to share what we know, what we don't know, and we wanted to be clear that this is really just the beginning. There's definitely more work to be done. Nevertheless, a little bit of context on where we're at. In 2024, we ran an Australia-only survey, and this was looking at the benefits and challenges of belly dance or rakshaki. It's not the focus today, but it did give us a foundation. And in 2025, we ran a bigger international survey, and this is the main one we're talking to you about today. It was shared through social media and through snowball sampling. So one person shared it with someone else and then it continued on. We had about 251 people respond. People were asked to share their personal mental health benefits and challenges when engaging with belly dance or rakshaki. In December 2025, we also did a follow-up qualitative survey, and this was with a random sample of people who opted in to share more. 21 dancers wrote to us with beautiful in-depth responses, and these were about their lived experience of mental health benefits and challenges associated with belly dance. So I really want to reiterate what Fernanda has said and to thank everybody for taking part. Talking about mental health, of course, it isn't easy. People were incredibly generous with their honesty. And if you missed out on those surveys, we are so glad you're here and listening because there's still a chance to share your experiences. So a little bit of a breakdown of who responded. And here's a quick snapshot. Geographically, we had 45% from North America, 24% from Oceania, and 24% from Europe. There were very small numbers from South America, Africa, and Asia. Obviously, continents are huge and diverse, and we'd love more representation in future. There are language barriers, there are cultural differences, and some people simply don't want to talk about mental health in a survey format or at all, and that's totally understandable too. Breaking down ethnicity next, most participants identified as white, and only about 10 source dancers took part. It's something we really want to improve as we move forward with the research. Surveys naturally don't suit everyone, and we want to find better ways to hear from source communities. A few other details: 62% were from urban localities, 22% regional, 16% rural and remote. As far as ages, there was a range from 24 to 70 years, with an average of around 47 years. Dance experience varied from 4 months to 60 years, with an average of 17 years. 29% of the sample identified as professional dancers, and only 5% identified as beginners. A whopping 42% said they were teachers, and about half performed every 1 to 3 months. 8% performed weekly, 8% never performed, and the rest fluctuated. Style-wise, most people ticked more than one box to identify the type of dance that they were doing. 74% Rakshaki, 39% folkloric, 46% fusion, and a lot smaller numbers for things like FCBD, contemporary, gothic, theatrical, and so on. So overall, a very experienced sample, but not a very diverse one. Of course, again, this is early work and we want to keep expanding it. This is not to downplay the wonderful lived experience that people have shared so far. Let's start with the mental health challenges, because two things really stood out. A whopping 55% of the sample said they had body image concerns related to belly dance, and 15% said it was their biggest mental health challenge. A few interesting things here. People did talk about feeling pressure to conform to certain beauty standards in the industry. At the same time, many dancers said belly dance helped them feel more confident in their bodies. Some dancers over 70 years of age basically said, yeah, I don't really think about body image like that anymore. And our dear Jacinda will talk about this later on in the webinar. Another challenge, a whopping 52% said that they compare themselves to others and that this is a challenge for them in the belly dance space. This is huge, and when we looked at the deeper qualitative responses, something really clear came through. Most of the negative mental health experiences weren't about belly dance or Rakshaki. They're about the people. One dancer, and I quote, said, "Belly dance itself has not affected my mental health in itself. The negative that I have experienced regarding belly dance has always only been the dance community and by other dancers and judgmental people. The dance itself is all-inclusive and empowering. People, not so much." Other challenges were present, but they were less dominant. Negative self-talk, 33%. Performance anxiety, 33%. Pressure to do better, 31%. Mental fatigue, 30%. And bullying, 17%. So the takeaway, the dance itself, what we're hearing is the dance itself is rarely the problem. The social dynamics around it can be a problem. And now the good stuff, because the benefits are really strong. 86% said creativity was the biggest one. People talked about belly dance as a way to creatively express and process emotion, not just the happy stuff, but sadness, anger, worry, and grief. One dancer said, and I quote, "Helps me release emotions, somatically release sadness, depression, anger, worry, generate energy and vitality." Others talked about the emotional journey of performing, connecting with an audience, telling a story, and sharing a feeling. One person wrote, "I enjoy to see people laugh, smile, cry. When I perform, it's not about a good photo, it's a connection and sharing a feeling or story that's more important." Some may say this is the heart of belly dance and Arabic music, and this really shone through for the people who responded to the survey. 78% said social connection was a benefit for them relating to belly dance. No massive surprise here. I think belly dance communities can be incredibly supportive, especially for adults who don't always have as many social outlets. 75% said mind body connection was particularly beneficial for them, and people described feeling more grounded, more present, more aware of their bodies in a positive way due to engagement with belly dance or rakshaki. 71% said that it helps them gain stress relief as well. The music, the movement, the rhythm, the structure of class, it all helped with nervous system regulation. So overall, what does this tell us? Belly dance isn't automatically healing and it isn't automatically harmful, but it can be incredibly supportive for mental health, especially through creativity, connection, and embodiment. And the challenges dancers face are often not about the dance itself, but about the social environment around the dance. Again, this is early research. We want to keep going, especially with more diverse voices and more culturally grounded perspectives. Nevertheless, thank you so much to everybody who shared their lived experience so far. So how does the rest of this session look? We've got a brief section with Jacinda, Fernanda, and you'll hear from me again briefly later. We're going to be delving into some of these areas in more detail. The chat is open, so please share your thoughts.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacinda and I'm a Rakshaki performer, teacher, and researcher based in Washington, D.C. in the United States. Health and well-being in Rakshaki, or belly dance, are deeply important to me, so when I first encountered this study, I knew I wanted to be involved on the research side. I'm very grateful to Ellie and Fernanda for welcoming me onto the research team and allowing me to contribute to this work. Some of the top mental health challenges that emerged from this survey was body image concerns at 55% of the respondents, along with comparison with others at 52%. And I'd like to spend some time unpacking these findings. First, what do we mean by body image? Typically, body image refers to how we perceive, think, and feel about our bodies. And this includes how we see our appearance, the thoughts we have about our bodies, the emotions that are attached to those thoughts, and the behaviors that follow, such as body checking, hiding, restricting, or overtraining. Now, to place things in a larger context, in the global general population, including non-dancers, negative body image is extremely common. Rates of body dissatisfactions are high worldwide and tend to be highest in English-speaking countries, such as the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia. Survey results in Western cultures show that 69% to 84% of women and 10 to 30% of men are dissatisfied with their body image. Now, when we place our current survey results in that broader context, something interesting happens. Now, the rate of body image struggles in our dance sample was somewhat lower than what we typically see in the general population. And this suggests that this dance space may not necessarily be inherently harmful and may even be protective for some people. Now, however, our sample was predominantly Australian and US based and primarily white European ethnicity. And we know that body image is shaped by larger systems like racism, sexism, ableism, and other forms of structural discrimination that all influence how people experience their bodies. These are critical factors that we weren't able to examine in this current iteration of the survey, but they remain to be very important areas for future research. Now, furthermore, our sample was adults with average age of 47 years and range between 24 to 7 years of age. We know that body image dissatisfaction tends to decrease with age. Now, it's very important to clarify that our survey is not trying to get at cause and effect. The survey question asked about the most significant mental health challenge associated with belly dancing, not what challenges were caused by belly dance. So the responses may reflect different interpretations. And in addition, our survey was cross-sectional, which means it was just a snapshot in time. And we can't determine which came first, the belly dancing or the body image concerns. So we don't know whether participating in belly dance contributed to body image concerns or whether individuals entered the space already carrying the body image concerns. So in short, the findings are showing associations, not causation. Now, at the same time, though, there are a few other studies out there, intervention studies actually, that show that regular belly dance practice can improve aspects of body image in certain populations. In our present survey, improved body image was also reported as a benefit of participation in the dance by 46% of respondents. Now, that means it may be that many dancers enter this dance space already carrying body image struggles, and that dance is simultaneously part of their healing process. In this context, body image can still feel like the most significant challenge, even as meaningful progress is being made. In fact, in our survey, we found that among those who had reported having body image concerns, 40% of them reported improved body image through belly dancing. So that's very promising. Now, however, the psychological impact of belly dance depends greatly on how it's practiced and in what environment it's taking place. As Fernanda will discuss, professional dancers, particularly those working in industry contexts in the Middle East, North Africa, and Turkey, but also professional dancers in other countries, will often face explicit commercial pressures and industry standards for aesthetic standards for what a belly dancer is supposed to look like. And these expectations are shaped by market demands and audience preferences and can directly contribute to body image challenges. Now, given these pressures, we might expect that professional dancers would report higher rates of body image concerns than non-professional dancers. However, in our current survey, we found nearly identical rates, 54% in professional dancers and 55% in non-professional dancers. Now, this was an unexpected result, and it suggests that there are additional factors that may be at play and warrant some further exploration. Now, one of those factors may be related to the second major challenge identified in our current survey, which is comparison with others. So if context shapes body image, then the social dynamics within that dance space also deserves attention. This raises the important question of whom are we comparing ourselves to? Is it our classmates, our teachers, our colleagues, or to the well-known dance stars in our field? And why? Are there structures within our communities that amplify these comparisons? For example, competitions are becoming more and more popular, and they may encourage dancers to evaluate themselves against others, not only in terms of skills, but also in the appearance. And this kind of comparison can intensify distress around both how we look and how we perform. Now, these are important questions for future research, but they are also very important questions for us as a community. Now, finally, we saw some strong interest in having short courses, workshops, and discussions addressing body image concerns. Now, this is an area that I'm particularly interested in because I'm currently working in this field, and I would love to get your input. So I want to open this up to you. Please comment in the comment area. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Now, what feels like your biggest struggle when it comes to body image? And what could our dance community do differently to better support a healthier, more inclusive body image? And with that, I want to thank you for your attention, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts.
here again. I'm going to be speaking specifically to or about those of us who engage with HREC as a livelihood. For many of us, turning this art form into a career is both a privilege and a massive responsibility. It is something most of us once dreamed of, right? And at some point, we were students who fell in love with the music, the feeling of moving, the sense of connection, the creativity, the way we feel when we dance, right? Like that aliveness that comes. But for many professionals, that love is still really, really real. But then when it becomes your work, the spectrum widens a little bit. We're not here to say at all that everything is easy and amazing for students and everything is really difficult for professionals. Students struggle as well, and we saw clearly in the data experiences of comparison, self-doubt, difficulty navigating community dynamics, managing expectations, negotiating belonging, all of that, right? However, what shifts when this dance becomes our livelihood is the intensity and the consequence of those experiences. The stakes change, the exposure changes, the power dynamics, the pressure, right? So when this is your job, your income, your visibility, identity, reputation, the emotional range becomes a lot larger and often heavier. Many professional performers described the industry as both beautiful and unforgiving. There is artistry, there is meaning, connection, but there are also expectations, limitations, politics that are rarely spoken about explicitly. There are expectations around age. So these expectations can be around age, around body shape, around how visible you are, around how desirable you appear, how marketable your image is, around whether you fit the aesthetic that venues, organizers, or audiences prefer. So ageism was not subtle in the responses. Many professional dancers described feeling increased pressure as they move through different stages of life. Some felt invisible as they got older, right? Some felt replaced. And some felt that commercial spaces prioritize youth over depth. And this creates a profound psychological tension because maturity often brings deeper artistry, greater musical intelligence, stronger embodiment, yet the market does not always reward that depth. That dissonance has a cost. Body image concerns were really significant throughout our research, not only in terms of personal perception, but in terms of reinforcement as well. So when your body is part of your professional currency, it can become difficult to separate artistic expression from self-worth. Perfectionism becomes amplified and comparison intensifies. And I think social media really does a good job in magnifying that, right? So, imposter syndrome was another strong theme. Even highly experienced professionals described feeling like they were one performance away from being exposed. Because when your visibility increases, so does scrutiny, right? And when income depends on reputation, self-doubt can become chronic rather than just, oh, I have a little bit of that, right? It's not an episode of self-doubt. It's like how you live. So another thing that emerged clearly was financial instability. Dance as a profession often involves irregular income, seasonal fluctuations, you're depending on people booking your courses, your workshops, your classes, your shows, right? The contracts are really informal. The networks are very fragile. So this can create a persistent sense of scarcity. And scarcity is not only just economic, it becomes psychological because it can shape how performers relate to one another. It can subtly like erode trust and generosity, and if not, if that is not consciously addressed. So that's why some people have the experience of the industry being highly, highly competitive, right? Some people also described tension between performers because of the limited opportunities. So feeling unsupported, feeling judged, feeling excluded. And at the same time, others described profound solidarity and mentorship. And this is the paradox. The same ecosystem that can generate comparison can also generate resilience. And I guess within all of this, the original relationship to dance still exists. The creativity, the musical dialogue, the embodied intelligence, the stress relief, the sense of meaning, the friendships, the joy of performance, the moment when movement and music align and everything feels coherent, right? So, what shifts when it becomes work is that these benefits can become obscured by pressure when dance becomes a product, right? When visibility becomes metric, when engagement becomes currency. I think the original intimacy with the art form can feel strained. It doesn't disappear, but it does require conscious tending. For teachers, I think the responsibility becomes even more layered. When we teach, we're not just teaching choreography, we're shaping the culture of the environment that we are in, right? We model how to handle competition, we model how to speak about bodies, we model how to age in this art form, and we model how to navigate success, disappointment, jealousy, all of that. It would be easy to gatekeep in a field that feels scarce. It would be easy to protect information, protect access, protect opportunity, but the data reminds us that community health depends on ethical leadership. This may sound a little bit cliche, but culture shifts through behavior. We cannot control the entire industry, but we can control how we show up within it. If we perpetuate comparison, our students internalize comparison. If we normalize body criticism, our students absorb body criticism. If we deny ageism, it continues unchecked. If we operate from scarcity, scarcity spreads. But if we do model boundaries, collaboration, transparency, and respect, that also spreads. Professionals are navigating multiple psychological layers simultaneously. The personal relationship with dance, the public performance of dance, the economic reality of dance, the digital representation of dance, and the interpersonal dynamics of community. This is not a simple narrative of harm or benefit. It's not simple. Engaging with HREC professionally can amplify vulnerabilities such as perfectionism, attachment wounds, comparison tendencies, difficulty regulating your emotions, financial anxiety, and at the same time can also strengthen resilience, embodiment, leadership capacity, and relational depth. Both are true. And that is what makes this conversation necessary. I'm not trying to pathologize the industry, not to dramatize it. We're here trying to acknowledge complexity because mental health in dance communities is shaped not only by individual psychology, but by structure, culture, economics, aesthetics, and power. The question is not whether dance is good or bad for mental health, right? The question is how we participate in it and how consciously we choose to shape the spaces that we inhabit. Thank you.
Hi everyone, me again. I'm back and excited to unpack a bit more around growth, resilience, and community in belly dance. Why this topic? I think fair to say we can all say we've seen people evolve through this dance, not just technically, but perhaps emotionally, socially, and even spiritually. We all know belly dance can change us, but how and why? Before I go any further, I do want to acknowledge again, Rakshaki is an art form that has deep cultural roots, histories, and lineage. Like many, I come to it as an outsider, and I'm always conscious of that. So when I talk about growth and resilience through belly dance, I'm not claiming ownership. I'm not trying to extract meaning or benefits without acknowledging where this dance comes from. For me, part of resilience is being able to hold that awareness, to love something so deeply, while also recognizing the responsibility that comes with it. To celebrate the joy and connection it brings us without erasing the people and the traditions at its heart. So we know Rakshaki didn't begin as a stage art. It began in community celebrations, family gatherings, weddings, moments of joy, moments of celebration. Scholars like Barbara Sellers Young talk about how improvisation in belly dance evolved from these communal settings where dancers responded to live music and to each other. So it could be said that resilience and connection have always been a part of belly dance, of Rakshaki. We're really interested to understand how this has evolved now that it's an art form enjoyed the world over by a diversity of people. Belly dance itself hasn't really been looked at much in existing literature when it comes to things like well-being, resilience, or social connection. There are beautiful stories, like dancers using the art form to heal, to build confidence, to find solidarity, but the actual research evidence, at least in that traditional sense, is pretty sparse. If we look at broader dance studies, we see a few things. We see that dance can build belonging, it can build social connection, it can support mental health, it can support resilience. And dance communities, whether it's street dance, folk dance, or belly dance, or something else, they can create a shared identity. They can help with mutual support, and they can lead to pathways for personal growth. These findings echo what so many of us, I think, feel intuitively, that dance helps us feel a part of something bigger. And because belly dance has not been studied much in this space, we really wanted to fill that gap, and the results have really been beautiful. 78% of dancers said that belly dance makes them feel socially connected. 62% said it gives them confidence. 39% said it helps them feel resilience. So these numbers reflect what we see and we feel in this space. Belly dance can help us connect, feel empowered, or whatever word you prefer, and it can help us to build emotional strength. I do want to share some direct quotes from participants and some really beautiful lived experience. One teacher said, "The connection to others through dance. It brings me so much joy to dance as part of a group, and this is the main reason I look forward to teaching dance each week. That in turn has helped improve my own self-esteem and is amazing for de-stressing when other things in life are trying. A quote from a student, they said, "The joy of living in the moments where you forget about time or your surroundings, just lost in the music and feeling your body move as you create the movement." And finally, another student quote, "Clarity of how humans think and care about each other and how I can fit into that beautiful interconnected web of culture and consciousness." So what does this mean for us as belly dancers? When we belly dance, we can practice adaptability. We can be present with our own body. We can be present with community, and we can be seen. Of course, I acknowledge this isn't everyone's experience, and in the research, we did hear some negative experiences too, where other community members, through actions like bullying, take away from positive aspects of the dance and the community. There's work to be done here, significant work. And in the meantime, I do want to talk about some ways to cultivate resilience through belly dance. We can look to areas and fields such as neuroscience, and they offer plenty of great insights into how we can foster resilience through this dance. For example, using rhythm to regulate the nervous system. If we think about repetitive movements like hip drops to a steady rhythm, this can actually feel amazing because it activates the brain's sensory motor networks. It helps us regulate our autonomic nervous systems, and it moves us from fight or flight to a calmer, more grounded state. Another example, we can learn a new pattern, layer, or combination, and that alone can strengthen synaptic connections in the brain. It literally strengthens the brain's ability to adapt and to grow. So belly dance combinations are often an intricate interconnection of different movements, upper and lower body, breath, flow, emotion, and this makes this combination even more powerful for our resilience. Improv, the heart of Rakshaki. Yes, of course, it can be intimidating. It might even feel like a challenge mentally as opposed to a benefit, but improv can teach our brain to stay open, to stay curious, and responsive, even when things are uncertain and we don't know what's happening next. And when we really get in the zone with improvisation, we're also quietening our brain's self-critical centers, all those voices that are telling us that we're an imposter or we're doing something wrong. It can really quieten those and have amazing, amazing impacts. Final example, connection as a biological shield. When we dance in community, even online communities, it increases oxytocin, and this hormone is associated with trust and emotional safety. So this buffers against the effects of stress. Stress is inevitable, and it helps us recover more quickly from emotional challenges. There are so many, many more ways that belly dance can increase our resilience, and I will never get through it today. It is time for me to wrap up, but we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, in the chat. What is it about belly dance in particular that lends itself to these mental health benefits? Thank you so much again for engaging with this chat today, and I can't wait to continue the conversation into the future.
I'm Sonia of Cairo, and I'm dancer now from more than 12 years as a professional dancer. First, I want to say about health and what dance give to me. First one, I think it's confidence about myself, my body, eyes of people when they are look at me in my show or when I was a student in France. So first, I think it's about confidence. I was very shy to look people in them eyes. I was every time looking floor. So this dance give me confidence about myself. This is the first. Okay, and second point, I want to talk about, of course, it's about only my experience because, I'm living here in Cairo and working as a dancer and teacher. So Cairo, it's very different. Outside we can be free, we can be who you are, you can be even anybody. We don't have rules to dance. You are free to dance, I'm free to dance, even your look, how you are, your tool, everything. Here in Cairo, we are more in another planet. Everything is different about style. We are judging about everything, and dance, it's the last things about what they judge. But first it's your look, how you wear, how you smell, your perfume when you entrance in any place, your nails, how long your hair, your lashes, your beauty, your skin. Everything is so important here. So when you arrive here, it's very difficult to understand that you have to be inside this box to work, because it's not like outside. Outside anyone can be teacher, performer, it's more easy. So Cairo was a little bit difficult for me to understand this, but I love my dream, what I'm living in Cairo. And for what I come here, I left my family, my mom, my friends, everyone to live my dream. So I'm sure have no work 100% perfect. You have some stuff to do it to be inside this role. So if it's about nails or hair or lashes, I'm okay to do it. I'm okay. So just this was difficult for me. But I'm okay today with this, so it's fine for me, and I continue to dance and perform as I want, as I learn, without forget who I am, and I'm fine. So thank you. I hope to see you if you pass by Cairo. Contact me if you want to see my show or have a class. Thank you, and I hope my answer of this question make more clear. Love.
Hello, my name is Zara and I am an Egyptian belly dancer based here in Cairo, Egypt. My father is Egyptian and my mother is British, and I want to say a big thank you to the organisers of this webinar for inviting me to come and speak and having me here today. When I was asked the question about mental health issues specifically faced by source dancers, I knew the answer could never be that simple or a one answer question. Of course, it's dependent on the individual and varies from case to case. However, I can say from my own experience and what I have observed from my fellow dancers, one of the things that I have noticed is having to deal with shame. Now, shame is different from guilt. Guilt is the feeling that you have done something wrong, where shame is the feeling that you are at your core wrong, that you are a bad person at your core, or that you have caused so much horror that you are just wrong. And for wanting to be a dancer, for practicing dance, for putting yourself out there, for showing your body, you are shameful and you bring shame on the family and you bring shame to the name, and you're shamed by everybody. You're shamed by your neighbor, you're shamed by your family, you're shamed by your brothers, your sisters. And as a result, it can lead to people feeling that they are wrong or that they are bad people. And when you get told enough by the society and the people that are supposed to love you that you are to your core wrong, that you're living the wrong life, it can justify people doing wrong to you, that you deserve the wrong, that you're not worthy of love, that you're not worthy of security, that you're not worthy. If something bad happens to you, it's your own fault. And that can be torturous. From my own experience, my father beat me when he found out that I was starting to work in belly dance. I was only 18, I was at university, and his beating caused severe head injuries to me, which resulted in uncontrolled seizures for nearly 2 years before I could get the seizures under control. In that time, I suffered bad burns with a kettle, I broke my nose, I had to drop out of the university that I was at and locate to a university closer to home, to my mother. My mother and father were divorced at the time, and I spent 3 years not talking to my father. When I finally got to face my father and I told him all these things that I'm telling you now and more, and the pain, and all I wanted from my father was, sorry I did that to you. That's all I wanted. And he turned to me and he said, Zara, I didn't do those things to you. God did those things to you because you are a belly dancer. And luckily, I can laugh at it now because it was so extremely stupid. I mean, isn't it convenient that you can blame some God for any of your own actions, and anything bad is God's fault, it's not your fault. But at the time, right when it happened, that feeling that I deserve pain, I deserve suffering, I don't deserve the love of a father or support, that was hard at the beginning. But luckily, because my father's actions were so extreme that on reflection I could say this is madness, I was in a way liberated from this shame, because I think it's more shameful to blame God for your actions than this. However, unfortunately, and this liberation from shame meant that I went on to be a belly dancer, mostly shame and guilt, very similar things, free for the most part. I mean, I still get shamed, but I try my best to work through it and to know that I am worthy of love, that I am enough, that I am not bad at my core, living in sin, and I am as much worthy of love and everything else that anybody else is worthy of. And I went on to live my dream. However, some people, the shame is subtle, the shame is consistent, and it can lead to people living lives feeling awful about themselves, hating themselves, or choosing not to pursue their dreams, and as a result becoming bitter, living a life of misery, one that isn't of shame yet is of misery, not pursuing their dreams, not performing publicly, not being a dancer, living in secrecy, living a lie, pursuing a career that their family approve of, and can live a miserable life. So yes, shame, one of the lowest frequencies that you can live in. And if any source dancers are out there listening to this, then my message to you is to know that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you aren't bad at the core, that you don't do anything wrong, that I love you. I hope that you love yourself, and anyone who doesn't believe that you
or believes that you are in the wrong. That is, as all judgment, a reflection of them, not a reflection of you. Know that you are loved, know that you're loved by the universe, by God, by me, by everybody, and I hope that you love yourself, and I hope that you enjoyed this message, guys. Until next time, my name is Zara. You can follow me on Instagram at zara.dance, and again, thank you to the organizers. Okay, a big ma salama min Masr, bye bye from Cairo in Egypt. Hello, my name is